Like Diogenes, Kevin Phillips has for years been looking for an honest man, someone who'll acknowledge the truth about the American economy. He published Bad Money several months before that economy headed over a cliff. The subtitle is Reckless Finance, Failed Politics, and the Global Crisis of American Capitalism.
I got started 4 decades ago essentially analyzing elections and political history. But as I got into that, I found in the 80s that I spent some of my time, and an increasing amount later, looking at the previous leading world economic powers and their problems. And the more you get into that, and the more you develop a knowledge bank on it, the broader the view of it you can take. And so I've started turning my attention to how they failed politically to be able to do anything about these circumstances. And entrenched interests were almost insurmountable. I should say insurmountable, but the politicians weren't good enough to surmount them anyway. And that was the second thing. You had second-rate politics, and often a totally unraveled party system. The British had to deal with the decline of Britain in a period when the previous two-party system was coming undone. And I see nothing at the present time that suggests me that the leading candidates for president are talking about this level of problem. And I can sort of understand why a lot of people would think it was unnecessary, and we're America, you know, nothing can happen to us, because the others thought the same thing. And there's no record of politicians being able to grapple with this and turn it around. So, yeah, I guess I've reached the point where all I think you can do is try to mitigate it and hope that the transition process is perhaps less painful than usual, and that you come out at the end of the non-imperial tunnel and things are better.
This is the kinds of problems you lay out. You know, they are massive, they're interconnected, they're very complex, but they are at least addressable.
And they affect us all.
Well, let me be half devil's advocate here. First of all, the politicians are not willing to discuss most of the numbers we've tossed out. They don't want to have to admit that it happened on their almost joint watch, because the two parties have been both involved. They can't call each other names. It's both of their faults. And individual candidates, I understand, don't really want to be the lone voice out there hitting this. The interest groups are really ready to roll. We've seen the way the financial sector has just raced in to basically grab the money for their institutions and worry about the taxpayers later. So I'm not all that sanguine. The other difficulty, I think, is that looking back at these previous countries, their politics could never grapple with it, as I indicated, and you tended to have leaders whose names you can't remember. Now, I can't say I think we will remember George W. Bush, because in contrast to most of these others, he had 8 years in the period of maximum spotlight, and he was probably, I think, the least accomplished president since Warren Harding. And all of this is going to be paid off. But you would think that the Democrats would have indicted this man from 6 different directions already, but they can't. And the fact that they don't seem to be able to do so suggests to me that this system is not going to blow the whistle on what's going wrong.